Welcome to the MOY Ploy. I'm Jake Harris, and I'm here with Peter O'Donnell.
It's always good to be back. The Moy is in the house. We have the trophy,
Welcome
the coveted prize.
to the best week of fantasy football I've yet to see. Oh my goodness, dude. We had several records get set and broken this week. We had a record for the most points broken, a record for the least points broken.
My favorite.
Ugh, it was extra tasty. We've got a lot of stuff to
We have
talk about.
people rising from the dead, people falling from the heavens. It
It's
was
true. It's true.
it's chaos.
Mm,
All right.
mm. Alrighty, let's get into it. So, first up, we're going to wrap up the week 7. We have Gluten Freak versus If Moy Then Moy. This one was.
Ooh, I've got a chill that just ran up my spine thinking about how abusive this game was. It wasn't even close.
Here's what's wild, Peter. This game, we had a very rare occurrence. We had 3 perfectly managed games this week. This game has 2 perfectly managed teams.
And yet, what?
You there, Bordon?
What? I hear that.
You good, Vito?
Borden, I'm about to die. We just started here. You perfectly managed your team, and you got a 97 burger. That's rough. That's rough. Is there hope?
Oh, no,
we don't
dude.
know.
He's gone. Later.
We don't know.
Thank you.
We can't write him off this early. Is it too soon to write him off? All right.
Oh, he's gone.
Second game had the other perfectly managed game, I think, and
Yes.
Todd Craig.
Yes, we had
but
2 perfectly managed games, and they both ended in an L. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Orange Justice laying the smackdown on Todd Craig. Later,
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good after that. It was a well-fought battle versus Todd Craig. He had me worried going on Monday night.
Yeah, but his man crush Cooper Kupp could not get it done.
Didn't deliver.
Let's see. Barkley's bite versus the Goat Squad.
The most recent victim who was bitten by Barkley's bite.
Here's what's crazy is this blowout honestly wasn't even noticeable compared to
this relationship. This relationship is deeper than just Phil being the RA at Parker Hall.
Think about this. One of these two is a pitcher, one of these two is a catcher. And think about this. In this matchup, one of these two pitched and one of these two caught. Were they the same two? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Phil definitely caught this week. Oof. He caught a big one too.
In my opinion, the wildest matchup, the one that had me cheering the most, was Brent Corona 19s versus the Todd MOY Ploy Forever squad.
Oh and my God, that was the most exciting fantasy football game I have ever seen, and it was such a disappointing outcome.
Well, should we look under the hood? Let's look under the hood and see what went wrong.
All right, on this week's Mischief, mismanaged. All right, so let's take a look. We're going to go ahead and pull up, let's pull up Todd's team right here.
Because that one,
there's one key component. There's one key component here. Darius effing Slayton. Why is he getting the start? Let's look at Darius Slayton right now. Darius Slayton has put up a single-digit, a non-start worthy performance in every week except for 2 weeks. Popped off huge against Pittsburgh somehow, and then huge against Dallas expectedly. And Philly's got a good pass defense. Why would you start him against Philly? You have the likes of Hunter Renfrow,
Juju Smith-Schuster,
Tim Patrick, Juju Smith-Schuster. Any of these guys could have been started over him.
And Juju has been underperforming. Juju's been underperforming. But even then, it was a good matchup because Tennessee's defense hasn't been anything stifling. I mean, we're not talking about the Bears' defense and what they did to Cooper Kupp.
Honestly, this is a mismanagement for the ages.
This is one of the great performances wasted on
how do you get 53 out of a player and lose the week?
The only thing is the good thing is he at least started Tyler Lockett and gave him a chance. I made sure to sit Will Fuller last year.
Jarek McKinnon. We have to talk about Jarek McKinnon too.
He's fallen from grace. He's out. Look at the first 4 or 5 weeks, and the last 3 are 9
and you know what's wild? I couldn't have predicted that. I can't even blame him. He just got
Look at
screwed.
that fall. Yeah, look at that fall.
Yeah. Who knows what's going on in San Francisco backfield? If you can get it right, you're in for huge points. But good luck figuring that out. I guess I'm invested in it, so good luck to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep it moving along here. That is everything. And Mischief mismanaged. We have to talk about, that was Todd. Let's go from the bottom up. Corona 19s. We've got to mention DeAndre Swift. Again, trades for the man. Never starts him. Think about that.
But it's at least an asset he owns. He owns the rights to it. He might use it. He might not. Jerry Jeudy. He traded for Jerry Jeudy. He didn't play him. But I guess I probably wouldn't play him over any of those wide receivers either.
No,
so.
And
shout out for Cole Beasley. Like I said, Cole Beasley is like a poor man's, I don't know, PPR receiver in the slot. A poor man's Jamison Crowder? Question mark. I don't know.
Think about that. Thinking about it.
Yeah.
Cole Beasley's definitely a case of the Beasles this week, and definitely the MVP for Brent's team. There's not a ton to talk about except for Chris Carson sucked, and he could have started basically any other running back on his team and done better. Let's keep moving. Oh, we also didn't mention Baker Mayfield. Todd, how can you not start Baker Mayfield?
I wouldn't. I know. We can't shame him for that.
Is the GOAT Squad. Squad. GOAT Squad has got Minshew got benched over Mahomes. What's wrong with you, Phil? Why would you?
If Philly wasn't paying attention,
Minshew over Mahomes.
You just don't know. They did say that they were having snow earlier on Sunday. When I was watching some pregame shows. So
Chase Claypool also hurts bigly.
I think you ride or die with Mahomes. If you take your first overall pick, Mahomes,
we're not here to talk sense. We're here to flame. Phil, you're an idiot. Start Minshew next time.
Minshew. He gets burned anytime he's never been able to get the two best quarterbacks on his roster in the same week. The best one's always on the bench, or at least the second best one. I know in this case Herbert put up a 40 burger, but he just can't seem to link. So he can't pick the right two every week. But Philly, we love you. We know that you can't do this. He's still in it.
It's the same thing for a wide receiver. He's not been able to get the best out of his wide receivers once this year.
Chase Claypool put up 40 points on his bench, or 80 points on his bench.
It really didn't matter. Even if he managed perfectly, would have been an L. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All Barkley. No bite.
No bite.
Let's take a look at this bite. You finally get a healthy Deontay Johnson, and you're like,
I know.
I'm a pass. Puts down a 29 burger.
Barkley's bite was ready to break 200 barrier, but does this mean, is he back? Is he for real?
Could be.
All of a sudden, his offense is looking like if he's able to produce without his best running back and probably his second best running back. Yeah, I was going to say Jonathan Taylor had a bye. If he's able to do that and still compete and win during these bye weeks, Barkley's bite, like I said,
it's time to start looking at Barkley's bite as possibly a real deal. Orange justice on the mismanagement.
It happens, but I have the players, which matters. That counts.
He benched
Carson on my roster
over Ben Roethlisberger and Matt Ryan.
Ouch. I wanted to see I thought there might be a shootout in Tennessee, and
he benched Leonard Fournette. Come on, bro. Yeah. You've held him on.
Fournette was just coming back.
He's been on your team this whole time. Then you bench him when he finally comes back. Boston Scott, dude, benching Boston Scott.
Ooh. I wanted to see how they used him. Let's see what happens.
Oof.
I don't have to be desperate here.
Starting a scrub like Mike Davis.
What about David Johnson versus the 32nd ranked rushing defense?
Oof, David Johnson.
I don't even think he broke. I don't think he broke 100.
Let's take a look at that. What did he put up? 42.
42. 3 rushing yards per attempt. Thank God for his receiving. That's the only salvation. That's the only
brutal
thing that kept me in it. And then you had
Todd Craig, a perfectly managed game.
The last 3 of the perfectly managed games.
And then you've got If Moy Then Moy. Y'all have to see this. This is incredible. His entire bench, there are 2 players that produced points. And combined, they didn't produce even 5 points. His whole bench put up 4.3 points right here in the bottom.
That's never been done.
3 points.
There was this was a historical weekend. All right.
All right, and I mean, let's take a moment.
Just head to the standings. Head to the standings, please. He's back, the champ.
Soy boy.
Back.
Soy
back.
boy.
Do you smell?
Back?
Do you know what fear? Does fear have a smell?
It's a back.
He's coming for it. People keep trading with this guy, even though they know he's like continuously like. He's the kind of guy who starts with the penny and ends up with the speedboat. But nobody else sees the games.
Wrecked by injuries this year, but you know
nobody
what?
else sees. It doesn't matter. All that matters.
Still in it.
All that matters is you're tied for. I guess we'll say tied for 5th, essentially. Yeah.
Number 1 in our hearts.
There's 4 that jump to those standings. Let's show where everybody is in order. Secondary
matrix. All right. Secondary matrix brought to you by the Missouri Aquarium Society. Take a look right on up over there.
Missouri Aquarium Society.
All righty. Let's take a look at the standings here. So some secondary matrix. Here's the primary matrix. Brent, sole possession of first place. His destiny is in his own hands. This we've been here before. Brent has choked in the past. Let's see if he can keep it straight and narrow this time around.
Mm-hmm.
I think Todd Craig. I think he also struggled with mismanagement last year, and I figured out his strategy. If his bench is just so incredibly terrible that there's no one on his bench that he could possibly start, how could he mismanage? Right?
I never thought about it like that, but that's exactly what's going on here. That's the only logical explanation.
And the worst bench. Orange Justice. Now, here's an interesting thing. You used to have a huge margin between you and the rest of the field. The field is catching you. Todd, Moy Forever, and Gluten Freak are both creeping up to catch you. They could catch you in a single week, bro.
If I put up a couple more 140s, people will be catching me.
Yeah,
the question is, can I get lucky? Can I sneak into the play? It's all about jostling for position in the playoffs.
Now, here's a team that has overperformed this year. All Barkley, no bite. Barkley's bite has been the little engine that could this year. Honestly,
I was ready to bury him.
They just find a way to get it done. But I will say this: I think last week's performance by Barkley's bite has been an outlier. He really has not performed that well throughout the season. I think his standings show that. I think his team has got some serious consistency issues.
He doesn't care about how he wins. He just cares about the wins. Again, Barkley's bite has never been
his season
tied for second place this late in the season.
His season is reminiscent of a less dominant Todd Moy Forever of 2019, where you have a bad team and get lucky.
No,
he's got a bad team and gotten kind of lucky, whereas Todd had a bad team, got unbelievably
really lucky, and was 5-0.
I think he got up to 6-0 at one point. Like, it was wild. Anyways, we're not here to talk about the past. Let's keep it rolling. That's been your secondary matrix. What do we got coming up next?
Oh, wait, before we go, is it time to bury Bordon Reynolds Smith? If Moy, then Moy.
Technically, he's
not mathematically eliminated.
Here's the deal. I'm gonna have to start making I'm gonna have to make a bubble, a playoff bubble, a graphic for next week, because he is right on the bubble of being eliminated. Because basically another loss and his chances are just kaput. I mean, the best he could do in the regular season is 500.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like that's going to do it this year. Last year, different story. Then again, what do we know? Yeah. Maybe everyone's playing for 500 football.
Well, and the thing is, when it's this close, 6-6 is not going to cut it, and here's why. Because last year you had two teams that were just dominating. Yourself and Todd Harris were just crushing everybody, and so what that did is it created a very wide open bottom end of the playoff bracket, where a team that was 5-7 had the possibility of getting in because two teams were getting all of the wins. But when it's this tight and this squished, 6-6 isn't going to cut it.
No,
the teams
every
that are going to
win.
get in are going to be 7-5. There might be a 6. It's possible that we get a 6-6
But then we
team,
go to
but
the
it's going to be a
secondary
6-6.
matrix.
Exactly. And Bordon is at the bottom of the barrel. He has to finish 7-5 if he wants even a shot in making the playoffs. And I just don't see that happening. His team is bottoming out, and I think he has truly given up. All right, time to move on. Call Route 911. Panic bus. All right. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I think that this is, it's pretty self-explanatory. I really think if Moy then Moy, Bordon is absolutely on the panic bus. A single more loss, he's basically eliminated. I think Goat Squad is on the panic bus. He is the second lowest scoring team in the league, and if he doesn't do something to improve his team, about what's he got? 2 losses in a grand total of 5 more games left.
He's traded away all his goats except for Patrick Mahomes.
Really, he can only afford 1 more loss. He needs to finish this season
7-5.
Well, yeah, and that's 5 games
Why
left.
that's one more loss?
He can only have 1 more loss. That's tough to do.
It's all going to depend on.
I think basically the whole middle of this pack is on red alert. I think with Todd Craig, I think he's on the bubble of the panic bus. Not quite. I think he's in like the cool kids section of the panic bus.
It would be nice if your dad
gets injured on his team. He's panicking because he just doesn't. His bench is just so shallow.
If Todd Moy forever had taken down Brent Viconia, it would have been Vanconia. Sorry, Brent. If he had taken him down, I just would have loved the narrative this week. But instead,
so good.
Do you think Brent needs to panic, or do you think Brent should be feeling just fine?
He's got no reason to panic. His team he's got decent depth at most of the positions. He'll be fine. I think he's basically all he has to do is win 2 more games of the last 5, and he's in the playoffs. That's a nice spot to be in. Barkley's bite, I think, is right there on the panic bubble. I think you're right there on the panic bubble. I mean, basically, from Todd Craig down, everyone's on the bubble.
I have to win. This is win now season.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on, and we're going to talk about the art of the steal. We had a big trade go down this week, and it was a win now move by myself, and unbelievably, Ray Mertz. Ray making the trade, making it rain.
I'm just following. I'm in the process of looking at Ray's schedule over the next coming weeks. He has some spicy matchups.
You can't spell rain without Ray. Wait, what?
What? I was just looking at Ray's matchups these upcoming weeks. You play him in 2 weeks. I'm cautiously optimistic about Barkley's bite. I think the team might be better. I think it's improved steadily over the past couple of weeks.
Who's he got next week?
He's got
that's a free win.
Yeah,
right? I like that.
And then he's got Todd Moy forever the following week. That's going to be a playoff decider right there. I know.
I think you're right. I think the next 2 weeks for Ray are going to decide whether or not he's for real.
All right. So are we on the art of the steal?
Art of the steal. Ray and Jake. We had Chase Edmonds of Ray's team, the former backup to
Kenyon Drake, one of the great letdowns.
Kenyon Drake was a letdown. Let me tell you, as someone who drafted him, thanks for nothing, Kenyon. Goes down to injury. Chase Edmonds steps up, and I decided I was going to make Ray an offer for a guy that he liked, a guy that I decided I was going to ride or die, Antonio Gibson, but I saw an opportunity to make a move for someone who gave me 2 to 3 weeks of elite production in Chase Edmonds. We'll see how it plays out. But it was my first true
I think it's a Moy
win
move.
now move.
It's a Moy move.
I appreciate that. And you know what? I was shocked that Ray made that move because I felt like Ray's in a win now situation.
He just scored 30 points for Ray this week. And, I think there's a lot to be said for somebody who's going to be seeing that kind of elite production and that type of versatile offense. And even when Kenyon Drake was in the backfield, Edmonds was still producing. I think if you look at his
That's true.
fantasy points, so now he gets a chance to shine. And I think last year showed that when he did get an opportunity to shine, he popped off as well. So
That's very
this
true.
could go down as this is the end of Ray's Moy campaign.
Ooh.
No,
That
this
is
might be it. I'm gonna
that's a
call it.
hot take.
Ray, I'm burying you in week 8 for the Moy
Spicy.
Award, even though
Ooh.
I'm your biggest supporter.
But you know
I'm
what?
I'm burying you for the
Take a look
award.
right here.
Soy Moy.
We're
There
one
can
Moy
only be
guys.
one. There can
Another is
only be one
born.
true Moy. But if Ray won and didn't showed up and never showed up, he wouldn't be Moy.
Think about that, Bordon. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at the game of the week.
The week. Oh, it's the father and son matchup. Todd
Father and
versus
son
Phil.
matchup. Todd v. Phil. Right here, the game of the week, bro.
Do you have a? What do you expect will happen? What are you calling?
You know, I think on this one, this is a tough to call. Both teams are 3-4. I have to give the edge to Todd Moy forever. He has shown that he can produce elite level points. Phil has not. Frankly, his team is floundering. He's got good talent at tight end, good talent at quarterback, but his receiving core is bad, and his running backs have been inconsistent at best. I think he probably has the worst receiving core in this league. I think he might have the worst running backs in this league. And it is tough to win games on the back of a tight end and quarterbacks alone because that's 5 starting positions, 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 6 technically, and a flex.
That you have the worst of
And
in
it
the
is
league.
difficult to I mean, we were teasing Phil a little bit for drafting guys that were high floor, low ceiling guys. And it really, like, Jarvis Landry has not worked out. He's hit his floor several times. Like, take a look, like 10 points, 7, 12, 15, 7, 7, 11. Like,
But you're showing his ceilings. His floors are the 7.
exactly. I'm
This
saying,
is
like,
not.
his low ceiling, 15, high floor, 7. So, like, he's always going to get you the 7, but you don't need 7. You need 20.
His best wide receiver is going to be shadowed by Jalen Ramsey of the Rams. So it just doesn't. I was going to pick Moy here. I just think Moy is going to get Todd Moy forever is going to be back on track. He's got such a strong team. I think I said he had the #1 roster at the beginning of the year, and I still think the talent, even though he's traded and dropped a lot of that talent, it's still very productive.
He has
He
done a
has
good job
found
replenishing it.
components.
He found James Robinson off of waivers. That was one of the best waiver wire pickups of the season, and will definitely be in consideration for the Moy discussion. He has found people like, well, that's pretty much it. Robbie Anderson. He found Robbie Anderson off of waivers. That was another huge
I
pickup for
do
him.
think, and I don't want to. I do think whoever wins this matchup. Wait, no. I'd have hesitation about Phil getting into the playoffs, even if he wins. He'd be going to 4-4. But that roster,
It's
I
not
just
enough.
have
It's rostered.
trepidation. I have trepidation.
He's
Sorry,
gonna
Philly.
need to make a move. In my opinion, Phil needs to consider trading away.
Patty Mahomes.
Yeah,
Mahomes has got to go. It's the only way to get an influx of talent if you want to make a run.
I mean, yeah, I think Mahomes, he's got to get rid of. He's got to dump Austin Eckler for somebody usable.
Oh,
Hit
someone
up
who
one.
can play. How
Hit
about
up.
someone who can
I think
play? He's not.
He needs to hit up Brent Van Conja, and maybe trade for one of Brent's secondary running backs. I think that he needs to consider dealing Josh Jacobs. Jacobs is a boomer bust piece, and his schedule is okay coming up, but it's not great. Like, Josh Jacobs does not perform well in games that they are losing. And like, I mean, he did well in the one Kansas City game, but I don't expect Kansas City
I
to
don't know.
lose to
Josh Jacobs just has 2
Vegas
good
twice.
games. He only has 2 good games on the year. I don't know.
Well, that's because they've only really been competitive, like super competitive in 2 games this year. You watch the other ones, they've been kind of blowouts.
Yeah. All right. So, who is right now your Moy of the year? Who's winning in your opinion the Moy race?
All right. We need to have a minute. And we need to talk
let
about
it breathe.
The race for
Let it
MOY.
breathe.
We're going to let it breathe, baby. Can you read these? Can you read this right here, Peter?
Let me see. Soy MOY. All right. I'm going to start with.
I gotta say, I was looking at some secondary matrix for the MOY, and there's a couple of interesting things. There's two teams that by far have the most, like, so I think part of being a MOY isn't just wins and losses. It's about dealing with the adversity that gets handed to you by the fantasy football gods. I believe that the Avengers have done very little and have been handed a lot by the fantasy football gods. The Avengers, Todd Craig's Avengers, has, what was it? The second most players on his team that he drafted. He's made the fewest changes to his roster of almost everybody in the league, and that also goes for the same goes for Brent Van Conja. You know, sometimes you just draft. You could be like, "Oh, I just drafted well," but you've also gotten super lucky with injuries. When the rest of the league has pretty much been decimated by injuries. You've gotten very lucky with injuries. You've gotten very lucky with hitting in your first 5 rounds on all your picks. We'll take a look next week, and when we really start getting into the MOY discussions and looking at the draft and with some of the late round hits came from and who whiffed in the early rounds. But I really think that those two had by far the most kept players on their team, and I think their score, their points per week, and their record reflects that. I gotta bring up the third highest total players kept from after the draft. You would think it was Barkley's bite, wouldn't you? The way that he
I
holds
love
on to his drafted players like with an iron grip, but no, it was embarrassingly the GOAT squad. In my opinion, Peter, gone, done, no MOY for you. Sorry, bro.
Goat squad.
Unless you can manage to make the playoffs,
I'm not. See you
call
later.
the Undertaker, bro. Call the Undertaker. He's gone. He has kept so many of his starting players, made not enough moves, and he basically, it just comes down to this. Everyone saw it coming. He didn't react in time. He valued Jarvis Landry too high. He valued Henry Ruggs too high. He valued DJ Chark too high. He valued Brandon Cooks just fine. But there's just several players on his team that he valued too high and would not.
He traded away his fit. I think he got Brady maybe in the 4th or 5th round. He traded him away for pennies on the dollar.
You know, and
Brady's
that move looked like a win-win, but Devontae Parker really has not been the same guy that he was last year.
Yeah.
After that trade, Devontae Parker went for 21 points. Then he played Seattle. It's a tough matchup, 13 points. But then he played the Jets, an easy matchup, 6 points. I think Devontae Parker could still have a decent game. I don't think it's going to be against the Rams this week, being shadowed by Jalen Ramsey. I don't think it's going to be against Arizona the following week, being shadowed by Patrick Peterson. And the Chargers have a pretty decent defense as well. Denver is the first week that he really has a chance to super perform. He looked matchup proof last year, and it is just not the same Devontae Parker.
Last minute. I want to just throw out my picks right now for MOY. I've got two top contenders.
I've got the
son of the MOY. I've got the son of the MOY, not Phil, his first son, his second son, Jake. I've got him in the top contention. He deserves credit.
The second and only
credit where credit's due. He's rising from the ashes, the phoenix, the MOY. And then also, I do think Brent deserves. Brent deserves love. Brent is number one.
No. We're not here to talk about Brent. We're not here to talk about Brent.
He hangs on for a playoff spot. I know it.
Muted. We're not here to talk about Brent. Let's take a moment and recognize the adversity that I've overcome. All right. You know what? It's just us here, folks. It's just us. Pigu's gone. He's not even in the picture anymore. He's not even in the picture. All right, I unmuted you. I unmuted you.
It's over. It's over.
I lost Christian McCaffrey.
Julio Jones.
Minimum 6 weeks. I lost Julio Jones. I lost Kenny Galladay. I lost. I mean, like the list just keeps going, dude.
Nyheim
I lost Miles Sanders twice. Nyheim Hines. Lost
Traded.
Nyheim Hines.
Traded. Miles Sanders.
I lost my starting tight end, Noah Fant.
Yeah.
I have dealt with, and I have made moves, scrappy moves, to get quarterbacks. I lost Dak Prescott. You forget. I traded for Dak Prescott.
The greatest trade.
Dak Prescott.
I don't know why people are trading these fantastic players.
I lost A.J. Brown. Peter. All right, y'all need to see this. Look at this team. Look at this team. Dak Prescott. Where Tom Brady's sitting right now, that was Dak Prescott's seat. Gone for the season. JaMychal Hasty sitting in Christian McCaffrey's seat, still injured. Julio Jones, my starting number 1 receiver, was injured. Kenny Galladay, my starting number 2 receiver, was injured. A.J. Brown, my starting number 3 receiver, was injured. Noah Fant, my starting tight end, injured. All the way Miles Sanders, my starting flex player, injured.
You traded for an injured Deebo Samuel, injured.
He got re-injured with a different injury. Who would have thought? No one has had more injuries than me. That includes you, Bordon. And you know what? I'm still in it.
Never dead. Rise up. But this, as you know, it's win now. But you made the moves. It's win now. I am so excited for week 8. I just don't want to shit the bed. That's all I'd like. I have to get the dub here. I'm 4-3. Yep. That 5th and 6th win just feel like you don't want to be sweating it out in the last 3 weeks. You want to get that 5th and 6th win.
I was there last year. I will say, makes it a lot of fun, but it's a little intense. I would rather be cruising into the playoffs.
Try and get those 5th and 6th wins before through week 10. And give yourself 2 weeks to get the 7th win. That's all you're gonna. That's what it's gonna take. Is 7 wins is a guaranteed playoff spot.
I'm going 8-4. I don't know about you, bro.
8-4. Brent's trying to go 8-4. Just depends on the matchup. Mike Davis, if he keeps starting, maybe I could see an 8-4 for Orange Justice.
Mike Davis. All right. I think that's where we're going to call it. Next week, we're definitely going to get a little bit more in-depth in the MOY conversation. We're going to pretty much just breeze through the weekly wrap-up because this is the time of year that MOYs are born and MOYs die. And
or where MOYs rise from the ashes.
Like the Undertaker. Like the Undertaker. He was dead. He is arisen. All right, guys. This has been the MOY Ploy. I'm Peter. He's Soy Moy Peter. Peace out.
Later.